to the cloud. We're recording. All right. Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of the SquareUp podcast, where we help you give your brand a fighting chance. Today, I am here with a sweet friend of mine, but someone who I really admired from afar before I even met her. And now we've just been able to do life together and business together in so many different ways. Just our paths keep crossing, our friends have overlapped. And I'm so honored that the amazing Ashley Joy has decided to be on my podcast today. Thanks, girl.
I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Okay, so Ashley does all the things. So many things, but I think of her when I think of someone who their sole purpose is to strategically empower women, because I think we use that empowerment word a little too much and it just sounds fluffy now. Yeah. And doesn't quite have any meat to it. But I think you do an amazing job of meeting with women, helping them with their business, helping them with their purpose, and giving them actionable steps to actually do this, and then holding them accountable. And it's just so much beauty in what you do. And even in recent years, I've enjoyed watching you even learn how to navigate that, as a mom, like what does that look like for me? I'm helping other people, but now what does that look like for me? And taking your own time to gather yourself, to make sure you're still there for your family and still help people with their purpose. So I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give you a second.
Much, Ashley.
Girl, you are doing it. So why don't you just introduce yourself, kind of tell us what you have going on right now and what you do.
Yes. So my name is Ashley Joy. I am a life and leadership strategist, which is a coach. I help women and businesses get to the true purpose behind what they do in order to embrace and develop into their full potential. I am by trade, I work in public relations and crisis management. But yeah, I love what I do. And I thank you for even saying that you identify that with me and my brand, because sometimes even for myself, I'm like, am I doing enough for women? And I ask myself that constantly, because like you said, empowerment can be something that has been a lost art in our culture, meaning, everybody want to be empowered. But for me, over the next decade, I want to think about how people are being transformed, right? How are we being developed? How are we literally taking the information that we are receiving on so many different mediums, and how are we taking that and transforming ourselves and our lives with the information that we're receiving? So I have a goal and a mission by 2023 to develop people and impact women, over 100,000 people. And that's taken me, 100,000 people is my mission by 2023, to know that I've helped develop and impact. And so that's taken a lot of pivoting on my role and what I do. So I'm a trainer and facilitator for organizations as well as women. I did offer one-on-one coaching with women, but I'm pivoting out of that role, because as I think bigger and believe bigger about what I know God has for me, I have to think about how I can do it in a bigger way, in a meaningful way. So group coaching and retreats and writing books that reach the masses, those are the things that I'm going to be focusing my time on. And podcasting, that's going to be the things that I'm focusing my time on for the next year.
And that's what I was about to ask, because I knew that you did a lot. You used to do the one-on-one coaching. So when you just said that number, I was like, wait, how are we tracking these women? Okay, so the group coaching and the retreats, and I saw you were just at an event recently. And I love that. So then you can say, okay, how many people were at attendance at this event? So I touched that many people. And I love that. And I think with so many of us being at home, or these days, even when you're at an in-person conference, or if you're doing a virtual experience, I think that's such a great way to get in touch with so many women at one time, and then give them the opportunity to reach out to you on another level, or, get your book in their hands, or get the podcast in their ears later on, because they saw you in the larger group. I like that. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay. So I want to know, so if someone is let's just say, what does that look like? Let's just say I have a group of women and, or I'm putting on, I do yoga. So maybe I'm doing a yoga retreat. And in one point we want to have a session, built on, discovering your purpose and making sure that you're working in your purpose. How does someone go about booking you for something like that? And then how do you prepare for that? Because I know so many conferences are so different. Not every group of women is the same. So how do you prepare yourself to present that information?
Good question. So a lot of times with my preparation work really comes in at really digging deeper. I always go into my years with a theme. And this year particularly, I went into the year with the theme of reinvention, right? God has put on my heart to teach about reinvention. One, because as you look around, we are in a perpetual state of reinvention, right?
Girl.
Everyone is trying to reinvent themselves. Every organization is trying to pivot and what Nina Simone would call responding to the times in which we live, right? So everyone is trying to do that. And for me, I just came out of a season of reinvention. I went through a 3-year process of reinventing myself as a mother, in my marriage, truly embracing those roles. So it was like God was like pushing me, like, who knows more about reinvention than you?
There you go. There you go.
I took you through a 3-year process in reinvention, and now you're able to stand up tall and talk to women about what it looks like to reinvent themselves, what it looks like to embrace this time and to confidently walk into the woman that you are. So one, I go into every year with a specific task, an assignment of what I know I'm going to speak on. So when a event organizer comes to me, we will have a conversation on the phone, maybe for 30, 45 minutes. And I will say, hey, what is your heart? Every event organizer who comes to me, we've had deep conversation, because I always want to say, what is the purpose of this event? I know a lot of people, there's a lot of activity going on, but what is the lasting impact you want to have on your attendees, right? What was the vision originally? Not the vision when you got into the planning stage and you want to get sponsors and you want to get numbers. What was your vision originally? And we will talk about that. And from, our conversation and me telling them what I'm passionate about and them having this goal, what they're passionate about, we come together and we come up with that theme. And it's always in alignment with what I already spoken on. So preparing is really cool.
When I say that sounds so fun, and I think somebody's probably listening like, that sounds like a lot. It is a lot. It is a lot, but I'm so nerdy that I'm like, that sounds so fun.
Yeah,
No, I don't want to.
There's a lot of work that comes into the work that I do in terms of speaking. And not only that, I'm traveling. I started traveling recently again for speaking engagements. So yeah, it takes a lot of preparation.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's the call on your life.
Yes.
Because the needs of the world don't want to do that.
Right.
But there's so much beauty in it, and so much obedience in it. So much obedience in it to just say, this is what, because somebody could come to you with an idea and come to you with their passion and they're excited about it, and you could be excited about it, and it doesn't take anything to get distracted.
Yeah, definitely.
Life happens. Yeah. And sometimes it can be good distractions. I think one thing that we have to learn to control is good distractions.
That's good.
That's what I kind of wanted to I want to, kind of pivot and kind of flow into that. How do you manage, let's just say when the good distractions come up, and then when it comes to staying on track with, okay, but this is still like, both of these things are my purpose.
Absolutely.
So how do I navigate balancing them both? Because it's not a situation where I can say, okay, I'll drop one and focus on one. No, I need to focus on both of these.
That's right. And that's a really, really great question. And I think it has a lot to do with, I always say that the best coaches are those who know how to self-coach. And for me, I always speak on the power of an uncompromised vision, right? So when you have a vision and you understand what that vision is, vision chooses for you. I don't even have to choose what are good opportunities for me or what are not the best opportunities, because my vision chooses that for me. Understanding what my mission is, right? I just told you what I'm trying to accomplish by 2023. So my vision is going to choose what I pick up and what I don't. My vision is going to choose where I go and where I don't. My vision is going to choose my friends. My vision is going to choose my lifestyle choices. My vision is going to choose for me because I understand what the goal is. And a lot of times when we hear people say I'm stuck, or I have imposter syndrome, one of the things I ask them, I say, okay, what is your vision? And when you don't have a vision, it's easy to get stuck. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to look at someone else and be like, I think I want to do that too. But when you understand what your call is and you understand what you're supposed to be doing, you have to stay committed to that.
There you go.
It's a discipline. Absolutely. It's most definitely a discipline.
Okay. You just said something. You said imposter syndrome. I have to admit, like, when I first heard imposter syndrome, of course, has always been there.
Yeah.
But I think within recent years, it's been popping up so much. I think as people started to speak about it more openly, that I literally had to stop and just like research it, because so many women I admired kept coming out saying they had imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of like, maybe I don't have the best definition of what imposter syndrome is. Like, I don't know. Maybe I think it's something else and it's really this. Yeah. So I looked at it, and honestly, and not in a boastful kind of way, honestly, I don't think I've ever had imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. I'm almost the opposite way.
I can see that. Yeah.
And not in an arrogant way, but I'm usually the kind of person of, if I get into the room, I'm never the person of like, how did I get into this room?
Right.
I think my grandmother just kind of raised me to be the kind of person that by the time they figured out I was supposed to be in this room, that's just kind of how it is. But I want you to kind of just either talk about your own personal, if you had any experiences with imposter syndrome, or how you approach that with groups of women that you coach.
Yeah.
Breaking them out of that.
Absolutely. And I think you just said something, because imposter syndrome, the root of imposter syndrome is about belonging, right? It's about us reckoning with our brain. Do we belong in this space or not? And historically, we see a lot of Black women face that question, right? A lot of women, Black women of power, CEOs, women who are in spaces and breaking the glass ceiling, asking themselves, do I belong? And most times, not only do they feel this imposter syndrome, they feel the impact and the biases around them of people looking at them saying, do they belong? Exactly. So the imposter syndrome is self-inflicted, yes, indeed, but it also is culture, right? It's also us walking into the room and feeling the sting of the microaggressions, right?
Yeah. It's the environment. It's not like we're making it up.
It's about environment. It's about space. It's about being in a room. Just recently in my speaking endeavors, I'm speaking in pretty predominantly white spaces at this point in my career. I don't know how I pivoted that way, because all the opportunities came to me, but there was never a point of me walking in them doors feeling like I wasn't qualified to speak into those women's lives, right? Because from my experiences, from my travels, from my reading, from my research, regardless if you're Black, white, green, gray, we all are trying to figure out the same thing, and that is, who am I? Right. So I never felt this thing of, oh, do I belong in this space? But I have worked with women, highly educated women who are reckoning in their brain, should they be in this position? Are they qualified enough to be in? I mean, I'm telling you, these women are smart and they're facing these questions, right?
Yes. And I almost feel like the more qualified, the more powerful, the more, really impactful the Black woman is, those are the women I'm seeing who really is hitting them hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're like, how did I get here? But if we sit down and like slow down and think, we know exactly how we got here. We were here for our struggle to get here. So we know it. So it's like, what is it that even we know our own journey? Right. We know the way we fought to get here, but still can get to that point and we're like, they really let me in the door.
Yes, oh gosh.
I knocked on the door and they opened it.
Right. Absolutely.
So we get to that. So I want to talk about that too with you. So your journey to get to this point where you are coaching these women, where you're speaking to these people's lives, like your own journey of, you said we're all trying to figure out, who am I? So what was it like when you first decided, and what is it? It's like, maybe you didn't choose this life, it chose you. But
Yeah.
maybe when you got to that point, you're like, okay, I want to start speaking at events or coaching women. Or what was your life like at that point? Let's just go back in our heads, because I've known you for a while. Let's just go back. Let's just say 10 years, 10, maybe 15.
Yes, go back to 15 years.
Let's go back 15 years before I even met you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
see, like, what was life like then, and what that journey started looking like to get here?
Yeah, so that journey, like for me, I was 15 years ago, I was living in San Francisco, California. I was pursuing my master's degree in communications and journalism. And I wanted to be a host. I wanted to be the next Oprah. I wanted to be on the carpet and on the news and a newscaster. Like, that was my dreams. And I always call, in fact, in my book, Dreams of Joy, I wrote about how San Francisco was my Eden on earth, because I felt that was the closest I've ever felt to God. And through that time, I was a young woman, 25 years old. But through that time, God was just speaking to me in ways that I never experienced in my life, like audibly and through dreams. And he basically was showing me this life. He also gave me flashbacks of my life previously, the steps leading up to those moments. And as I remember, I have always, Ashley, when I tell you, always been a lover of women. I love women. I love empowering women. I remember at 12 years old, doing it. I remember when I had to speak in high school, and it was talking to women. I remember being that strong friend to my girlfriends who hearts used to get broken. I used to be like, I was that friend, and they used to call me grandma.
I'm like that with my friends. I'm like, everybody.
Yes, I was just
everybody moms.
I'm telling you. And the pivotal moment for me is when I left San Francisco and I decided to take some time and go overseas for a little while. And I started journaling. I've always been a journal, like all my life I journal. I have journals from when I was 8 years old. Like, I've always journaled. And I started a blog. That's where it started. I started a blog called Distinctive Female. And it was just talking about, not only was I traveling during that time, but I was also living a celibate life. I felt a call to purification, to really submit and commit my life to this higher call that I knew that was on my life. And I started talking about purpose. Here I am, this 25, 20, 23, 24, between that age range girl, talking about purpose. And at 27 years old, I released a book called Dreams of Joy, discovering an unfailing God and his unfailing love. And it basically talked about how, as women, but most importantly in my life, how I searched the world to find what was already inside of me, right? And I felt so strongly about this message because, like, my book was a book before its time. I always tell people, like, that was way back in like 2012 and 2011. And I didn't even know what I was doing was called coaching, because women would want to speak with me and I would be able to coach them on a level that was really impactful, but transformative for them. And I just started writing, and then I got my first speaking engagement, and that was in Cape Town, South Africa, where someone was like,
you know what? Okay, pause. So what is that moment like when your first speaking engagement is Cape Town, South Africa?
I was young. I was 26 years old.
There we go. You're back. You're back.
Yeah. I was young.
Yeah.
I was 26 years old, and I got a call from Mia Wright. She's a pastor out of Houston, Texas. Okay. And she said, every year we have this big conference I put on in Cape Town because I have a heart for the nations. And at the time I was already living in Dublin, Ireland. And she said, I would love for you to conduct a workshop on purpose. And I named that workshop, what was it? Got vision, now what?
There we go. Okay.
Got vision, now what? And it was a room of possibly 100 women, standing room.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
we
a big
had a recording of that. Wait a second, where is that? Like,
who
knows?
I think my dad may have that. I think my dad had that.
Okay, podcast listeners, we're gonna find Dad and
so
see.
We need to find that. Got vision, now what? And that was the moment when I realized that this is what I was supposed to be doing for the rest of my life.
Praise God. Yeah. I love that. Okay.
That was the moment.
So now you have that first speaking engagement and the fire is lit. It's you have the vision.
Yes.
The doors seem to be opening. And I think we all know that usually when we start walking fully in our purpose, we get hit.
Yeah.
We get hit. That's when the attacks come from everywhere. Stuff just stop, like weird things, like even now the computer was freezing. I mean, stuff just starts happening. So when you first started feeling opposition and like you've been walking in that purpose and now you're like getting hit with things and feeling, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or what was that like? When was that first time you felt that maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this, and how did you finally get out of that?
Absolutely. So for the first couple of years, I can say from about 2010 to about 2013, 14, I was like real confident about this call.
Yeah.
Like I was really, really, really just in this uncompromised vision. I'm going hard after it. Soon after I got married to my lovely husband, Michael, and I moved back to the States. Him and I got married, and then we moved here to Birmingham, Alabama, where we currently are now. Mm-hmm. And that was a really hard season of life for me because I went from this woman understanding my purpose single-mindedly, the woman I was called to be, the writer, the speaker, the coach, but then I had to learn to coexist in a marriage together, right? And my husband understood my vision. He understood my purpose, but now I had to reinvent myself as a wife. Right?
That's different. It's game changer.
Very different. It's very different. And a lot of that caused a lot of insecurities for me because I knew who I was as Ashley Joy, but I didn't know who I was as Ashley Joy Sutton, right? I didn't know who I was as this maker, this wife, this rib. I didn't know any of that. And I felt a lot of resistance and a lot of insecurity started to come up and show up for me. And a lot of questioning, well, am I really supposed to be doing this? I understand that's my call, but I'm also called to be a wife, right? And in our society, when I got married, it wasn't as talked about being the Renaissance or the well-rounded or having it all, right? It always was a pick or choose. And if you wanted to be this type of good wife, you can't really give all of your attention to this. And my husband was always a big supporter of what I did because he met me in that. It's not like he didn't meet me. He met me in my purpose. He met me in my vision. But I made the decision in 2018, after I had my daughter, to lay down I went through a hidden season of life for 3 years. So from 2018 to 2020, as of recently last year, I went through a season of reinvention, and I was having a strong reckoning in my life where deep down, I was carrying this baby in my belly, but I did not know if that's what I wanted. And when I, and I get emotional telling this story because when you're called, when you're truly called, you can run, you can hide, you can denounce it. You can try to reinvent yourself. And like, I went to go get a job. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to be a publicist, go home, take care of my little family. And I remember someone reached out to me in 2019. I haven't done any speaking engagements at that point for a year. And someone reached out to me for me to come and speak at a conference in New York City. I was like, okay, I'll go, that'll be my last one. But in my mind, I reckon that was my last speaking engagement. That I didn't even bring books to this conference. At that point, I'd written 2 books. I didn't bring books. And I reckoned in my brain that that was going to be my last speaking engagement. And my husband came with me for the weekend because that was our anniversary. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No, I'm listening.
Look.
Like, look.
Okay. My husband came with me for that weekend, and I spoke on that Saturday. We attended church service on a Sunday, and we were leaving because we wanted to spend time together for our anniversary before we left the following Monday.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we were leaving, and a male prophet was on the stage, and he told us to stop and come in front of the whole church. In front of the whole church, Ashley. And mind you, I told you, I buried this. I went into a hidden season. I had imposter syndrome. I didn't know if this would God really called me to do. God, I know you gave me this passion for speaking and women and empowerment and writing, but I buried it. I lost my identity. I didn't know if that's what I was supposed to be doing. And God allowed a male prophet, Ashley, to call my husband up, and my husband and I up in front of the whole church. And literally every single thing God told me, this man reaffirmed in my life. Every single thing, that you are called to the nations, that God is going to use you to scribe and write books. He knew nothing about me. Nothing. He even spoke to my husband gifts, because my husband is a singer and a worship leader, and said, I don't know why I hear music for you. Like speaking, every single thing. He reconfirmed to me what God told me about my life, but I buried so deeply. He reconfirmed everything and literally spoke it all verbatim. And that scared me, because he called me out, and he literally said that I have been in obscurity. I have been hidden, but God brought me through that hidden season to develop me, to show me, to bring a deeper depth within me, but he needed me to come back out. It was time. And from August 2019, that ignited something in me. And then I was like, 2020, I'm ready to come outside. And then COVID happened. And God even showed me purpose in that.
Yeah.
Right? He showed me just, again, another layer of what was inside of me. And I would never forget that 3 years of life. I would never forget that hidden season. I would never forget that season of doubt. I would never forget that season of me not understanding if and what. But I do remember this, that it will find you. That thing will find you. And it never stopped pursuing me, so much that he sent me to New York City and sent a prophet to reconfirm to me everything that the Lord laid on my heart.
Yeah.
And since then, I do it in fear. I'm doing it in doubt. The job that I was at, I left that this past February. I walked into 2020 not having any speaking engagements. I was booked for, now I'm closing this year. I had 8. I traveled all around the world this past year. I had some amazing opportunities. And I always say this, I don't know what the next year is going to hold. I don't know what the next decade is going to hold. But all I do is have faith. I have consistency, and I have work ethic, and I rest. I pray, I work, and I rest. That's all. I pray, work, and rest.
I will say one thing when it comes to you, that last thing you just said, and you rest. I think that's something me and you do have in common, because people ask me, or they'll tag me and stuff all the time, where people say, you know, I have such a hard time finding time to rest. And people are tagging me and be like, not Ashley. Because you know me. What? I will shut all this down.
Me too. Me too.
Me, like, even yesterday, no lie, yesterday, I had plans to do something yesterday evening, where I normally don't do stuff on weekdays. But I was going to go do this thing that someone had asked me to do, had a babysitter lined up and everything. And my son is having a very emotional time right now. I don't know what it is. He's 6 years old, but he's either really aggressive, are very clingy. And
Yeah.
like, you know, like I just want, he'll come get me and be like, mommy, can you come watch TV with me? Or will you cuddle with me on the sofa or whatever? So I canceled everything yesterday and was like, I think I'm just gonna hang out on the couch with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we need, and I think you are so good at that. I've watched you do that in the past few years. And I think we, especially as Black women, need to learn how to unapologetically rest.
Yeah.
Like just sit down.
And I always tell people that my rest is my revolution. My rest is my reckoning. My rest is where I find the most power, but most importantly, where I listen to my body's wisdom, right? I just finished my last speaking engagement for this year, and I am committed for the remainder of this year to rest, you know, just to really, and listen, a lot of people don't understand this. Resting is not that you're not working. Resting is being in a rested state of mind, where your mind is not as busy, where you're literally answering the call to slow down, be quiet, you know, be in tune to what your body is saying, listening to the directions for the next realm and to the next divine alignment that you're entering into, right? The fact that I'm in a rested state where I'm praying about, okay, what 2022 is going to hold, it is me. That's a testament to how much I'm not worried about the accumulation or the outputs of creativity. I'm a creative, Ashley, you're a creative. And if we're not careful, we can allow the fast frequency of this world or of our culture to get us in a place where we are perpetually in a cycle of output. But true creatives thrive in a rested state of mind. True creatives thrive when they understand that they don't have to be relevant, let's be clear, in order to be impactful. You don't have to be relevant to be impactful, right? Quiet revolutionaries, they weren't always seen. Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King, he was the face of the movement, but he wasn't the movement. It was the men and women we would never hear about that was changing culture. Daily on the ground. Right? So we can't confuse relevancy and being seen as a form of success, or as a form of we made it, or as a form that we're doing better than everybody. Because I've sat in rooms with people, listen, I've sat in rooms with people who outwardly look successful on paper, have the money, have the cars, live in the best neighborhoods, have the best houses built from the ground up, and they're miserable. Broken. And they create misery for everyone around them. Broken. Yeah, so.
Wait, I think you froze again. Hold on.
Did I?
Let me see. There we go. I think I got you back.
Okay, good. No.
Oh, there we are. I heard you say no.
Okay.
There we go. Yes. I don't know what happened. Anything that does weird things, I'll edit it out.
Okay, good. Please edit me out crying.
I can't edit the whole cry out. That was good stuff happening. Okay, so what I want to say to you is you are such a fighter in the most beautiful way.
Oh, thank you.
I will say in the most homegirl kind of way.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
And I love that you fight. And in your way of fighting, what I love about it, it creates other fighters. Like when you are walking through your own stuff, or when you are, overcoming your own battle, or, fighting through your own opposition, in the process, you manage to create other fighters. So in your coaching, or in your speaking engagements, or in your bomb Instagram caption, sometimes it could be anything, some kind of way. It could be an Insta story. And I'm like, some kind of way, she just empowered me to get up and let me make me some coffee. Or I'll say like, you know what? I didn't work out today. Let me just cut out 15 minutes real quick.
Good.
You know, and to reclaim that moment of I can slow down and do, like, actually you have time to do, because like I said, people know I teach yoga, and like you said, you get in that season of output and no input. I would find myself only teaching and not taking classes.
Okay.
And I did that for like a year.
Yeah.
I was almost the entire beginning of the pandemic. I was just teaching yoga classes. And then I noticed, I'm like, I haven't just went into a class and just sat in somebody else's class in almost a year. This past June was the first time I took a yoga class.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you have to, and I think we do that in just our regular lives. We do that with church a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Especially if you speak or you're involved, you might be leading a small group. You realize I've been leading a small group for a minute, but I haven't been in a small group.
Yeah, perfect example. Let me tell you this. So this past year, I've been speaking since 2011, 2012. This past year was the first year I literally sat in a public speaking course. And I hired a public speaking coach, and being at a place where I perfect my gifts, but also being humble, right? About how much you don't know, and remaining a student and a continuous learner has been a game changer for me. Not only does it humble me, right? Not only does it put me in a place where like, oh, wow, you don't know as much as you think you know, but it also put me in a place of hunger where I'm wanting to learn more, and I'm wanting to perfect my gift even better, right? Because when we talk about entering a genius level, in a genius zone, and being at a place not only where we're good, but we go from good to being great, it does take a level of humility. It does take a level of becoming a student, right? And being committed to the continuous learning. So I do the work. I do the work, girl. I do the work. And I always tell my clients, I'm not doing anything that you're not doing. And most importantly, I'm probably doing it even more.
There you go. And it's real. Like, we don't have to try to sugarcoat that. Yeah, I'm probably doing more.
I'm probably doing more. Just like I'm coaching you, I'm about to log off and do my homework and report to my coach tomorrow. Okay.
Kind of like your therapist has a therapist. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's the same thing. Your therapist has a therapist.
Your pastor should have a pastor. Your therapist has a therapist. Your coach have a coach. If they don't, run.
Exactly. Like, because like who are you reporting to, or like who's holding you accountable, who's teaching you, who's telling you of your shortcomings, because someone who's under you can't always see your shortcomings.
That's right.
And they're not supposed to. So you're supposed to have somebody just, you know, who has that what is it, that bird's eye view of your life. They're looking down, or of your purpose. They're watching from the top, like, should have went left. Like, she went right. Should have went left. So yeah. Okay, so we're gonna respect your time. We're gonna wrap up, but I want you to just tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. So you can get in touch with me at www.ashleyjoyspeaks.com. Also on Twitter, Instagram, I'm Ashley Joy Speaks as well. And I look forward to connecting with the audience. Please let me know what resonated for you. And Ashley, I'm so proud of you. Continue to do the work. Ashley is like one of those real creatives, y'all. Like, everybody creates. There's creators and there's creatives. That's good. I never said that before. There's creators and there's
write it down.
You are a creative and you are a visionary, and you have such an authentic, beautiful heart. And you're one of those women who all women loves. And I love that about you. So
OMG. Okay. Okay, so thank you again so much, everyone. I'm going to put all of those links for Ashley down in the description. I'm linking websites, coaching links, booking links, book links. Everything will be in the bottom. If she come out with something else before this goes live, I'm putting that in the description too.
Oh,
so
yay.
You can get all the goodies. And thank you again so much. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. Bye. All right, you stay. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording and now cut off the little